Now this is a special treat, and it really is, because I love churros or Spanish donuts, and I really do. And they're pretty simple to make. 1.5 cups of cold water and 2 tablespoons, good tablespoons, if soft butter, and we throw those in together, and all we do is just wait until that butter melts. This is a form of a choux pastry. Now I'm sure you've made that in your life before. Well, maybe you haven't. Chocolate eclairs, profiteroles, things like that are made with choux pastry. Croquembouche, that's the other one. 225 grams of plain flour, 75 grams of caster sugar. So this is a different choux pastry, but it's sort of got the similarities. And the main thing whenever you make choux pastry is you have to mix it in really well. The whole thing is to get that flour in there. Exactly what we're doing now, and it needs to come together in a sort of a ball, and you need a little crust on the bottom. Those are the 2 secrets. So mix really well and get it really incorporated. And as I said, you'll see what I mean by the crust. Do you see how that's forming on the bottom? And then you take it off and cool it a bit. Now, this is another thing that's important. You don't necessarily add all the eggs because you don't want it too sloppy. So when you're adding the eggs, just keep an eye on it. Most times it takes the whole lot, but sometimes you think to yourself, oh, that's getting a bit sloppy, I don't want all those. So 3 eggs, lightly beaten. All right, this is looking good. Now we start adding the egg. Now only bit by bit, so don't throw the whole lot in, and mix it in until it is incorporated. So it'll be a bit loose at the beginning, and then, now don't do silly things like put this in the mixer or processor or something, because it won't work, guys. It really won't. It has to be done by hand. And I've got a piping bag with a star nozzle in it. So you see how you do it. You fold it over like that. You've got your nozzle in the end, and then you put your mix in there. Now don't get all excited and try and get the whole lot in, unless you've got a huge piping bag, which I haven't. And then you bring it up like that, and you turn it around like that. Just do it like that. And you can do them as short or as long as you like. All right, guys, now what we do with it next is it goes straight into the fridge uncovered, and it sits there for half an hour or so before we fry it. It just sets it. I'm going to make the most wonderful sauce to go with it, which is made with Toblerone. And I've got about 200 grams of Toblerone there, which go into a double boiler. Make sure that the chocolate or the bottom of the double boiler is not touching the water, because if that happens, it seizes. Do you know what seizes means? When you've got chocolate and it sort of ends up in a very tight lump, that's seizing. And that will happen if it's directly on the water. To that we then add half a cup of cream and a good slurp or 2 of Grand Marnier. Actually, this is quite funny, because I'm also making a fondue with this, because this was created by the marketing manager of Toblerone in New York. He made the chocolate fondue, and he made it with Toblerone. So that's where that comes from. So it's not from Switzerland, and I'm going to serve it with some nice shashliks of marshmallows and, as you can see, fruit. So that's going to be our fondue. So you dip that into the fondue. So all we're waiting for is that to melt. So that is my fondue, but it is also my dipping sauce for my churros. I've got a deep fryer here, and we are going to throw a churros into that. Make sure it's pretty hot. And the other thing about it is, don't overcrowd it. It's only a tiny little deep fryer, so you can do it in a wok just with hot oil if you like. You can use vegetable oil or vegetable shortening. It's up to you. Give them a shake every now and then, churros, so that they don't stick together. Now what I've got in here is I've just got a mixture of sugar and cinnamon. So we'll just toss that around, just to coat that while it's still hot is the idea. And let's start thinking about our fondue stroke sauce. Okay guys, there we go. Now, to go with chocolate, we need something a little bit sexy. And I'm really into sherry at the moment. The black sherry, Pedro Ximenez, which is an after dinner sherry, goes beautifully with chocolate. So Pedro Ximenez, churros, chocolate fondue. What more do you need?